Hi, my name's Mike, and this is my entry for the 2014 Moog Circuit Bending Challenge. What I did here is I took a Kawasaki kid's Remco guitar, a kid's voice changer, this little my first cassette player, this little kit I bought online, a PT2399 delay kit, a bunch of parts that I had that I scavenged, a bunch of toggles and pots, and I basically built this creation. And here is basically the build list. Built it for just under $60, and I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, this is the Kawasaki Remco guitar that I'm going to be using as my main audio source. Has some metal strings with contact. That's how it plays the notes, and then there's frets along the neck. I'm going to be pulling out this string assembly and remounting it to my new box right here. Then all the frets we'll move to push buttons mounted along here. This is the main board of the guitar. I'm placing that, I think, in here. Battery pack over here. Then we got the voice changer. This is 9 volts, which this is also 9 volts, so they can run off the same battery pack. Tape deck runs off of 2 AA's, so I will have a separate battery pack for that. Basically, I will just be using the circuitry here, feeding the audio into where the tape input normally goes into, and then out of the headphone jack. We'll replace the volume pot. Found another bend in here. We'll be adding another pot in there. The voice changer, I will be replacing the pitch transistor, which is right in there. Adding 5 different switches in there. Plan to mount the back at an angle, so the main keyboard and power will all be in the bottom section. Up across the top panel section, I will have the voice changer, the tape deck distortion. I also have a delay kit that I bought online that will here. And I think that's it. I've got all my leads attached to the board right here to extend the controls out to the control panel and get rid of this board. Next, I'm going to be taking and soldering a lead from R10 through R15. Those will come out to this rotary switch, the 6-position rotary switch, which will then, the output of that, go into this pot. This is a 100K pot, which then will go out to a toggle switch, which will turn the whole thing on and off. And then the toggle switch will go back to the common ground of these of these resistors. So that'll give me basically 6 bends with an adjustment and on and off, all in one kind of setup. Alright, so I've got the tape deck circuit board removed now, extended the power wires to the battery, extended the input. Right now I just have it going to alligator clips, going to just a keyboard, just for a test source. Now Now I'm going to start working on the voice changer. already identified this resistor as the pitch resistor. I'm going to remove that, extend wires out to a pot for an adjustment. How this works, the trigger basically just turns the power on, so I'm going to desolder all the wires, get rid of all of that, extend the power wires, the mic inputs, I'll desolder, extend those. All the switches, we'll be adding wires to extend those to toggle switches on the case. And extending output wires. Alright, so I've got the voice changer circuit. I've extended where the pitch resistor was out to a toggle. I wasn't able to reuse the small surface mount resistor, but I replaced it with the same, this is the 15K resistor here. Wired it to a toggle switch and to a 100K pot, so I can turn it on and off. One thing I've noticed was that if it got no resistance, it would glitch out, and I usually had to reset. So I put a limiting resistor, a 1K resistor here, so it will never get below that and keep it from glitching out. Alright, now I'm going to start on this little delay kit I bought online from Synthrotech. I believe it's $24. It's a PT 2399 delay kit. I'm not going to go through every bit of step-by-step instructions because they provide a link to all the step-by-step instructions. They detailed everything out. Okay, let's start with this. So I followed the instructions from the website I bought the kit from, and soldered all the pieces to the board. Some of the pieces you have to really use a magnifying glass to identify which are which, because there's a lot that look the same. I'm not going to install the pots on the board as they show. Instead, I will be extending them with wires and then adding them to the case. Alright, I've completed my little delay kit here. Same thing, I'm using my little test keyboard, running into the delay kit, then out into this little speakers, extend the power out to the 9V, which will get changed out to the battery pack, and then the two controls here. Alright, I've got my little PT 2399 delay kit here that I built. I found that if I jumper pin 8 to one of the capacitors, I can get kind of a feedback out of the pot. I also found that I had to change out the pot they gave me. They sent it with a 20K pot. I changed it out to a 100K, which gives me much more range. Alright, I found another bend on the delay circuit here. basically what I'm doing is taking the input, one of the input lines coming from my source, running it to a toggle, which then routes it through this resistor. Resistor just is kind of affecting the tone a little bit. It was a little too harsh without the resistor. Then feeding it back in to, on the PT2399 chip into pin 11, which I found is the op amplifier input 2. And this will just kind of give it a little bit of distortion, kind of makes it a little bit more warm. So that's without it, and then with. Okay, so I found another modification to the delay board. Basically what I'm doing, just to show you here, I'm taking the op2 out and going through a pot, then going back in to the op1, which is giving me a feedback of sorts. So let me give you a demonstration. Alright, I'm about to start packaging everything back up into the case, and I found another mod here on the PT2399 delay kit. I found that I'm coming off of R11, this resistor 11 right in here. I'm running that to a toggle switch, turn on and off, to a pot. And this is going to my mix, wet dry mix, the center pin of the wet dry mix. And I'll give you a little demonstration. So this is kind of a third feedback. This one's more of a true feedback. The other one is more of a distortion, and this one is still somewhat feedback, but not really true feedback. Or this one is. Got one more mod added to the PT2399 delay kit. This is just like a warp switch, or toggle switch, I'm sorry, I'm calling this warp. This is coming off of the delay length, one of the leads off the delay length pot to a toggle switch, coming back over to capacitor 15, the negative leg of capacitor 15, which is right here, which is right there. And basically it's just connecting that to that right there. Momentary, or it's actually just a toggle switch, and I'll demonstrate what that sounds like. Okay, so here's how I did my bypass switches. I have two toggle switches. I'm going to mount them in the case side by side. So this is the input signal, and then this is the basically like a loop out signal, and then a loop back in. So this goes to one effect, the audio signal comes out and then comes back in, and then this is back out to the next effect. So when it is up, the signal is connecting down and back around, out, and then when you toggle down and bypass, signal comes in, routes around the top, and then on to the next. You just have to make sure to switch both at the same time. Now I'm going to start working on the case. I found this little case we got for a free barbecue set one year. My plan is to cut some plywood in the shape of this. 2 pieces, one for each side, and then I will attach from the inside to make it solid. And then I plan to making a face out of well, probably these panels of the auto mixer I've been salvaging for parts. I've got my side wood panels all cut out. I routed the edges, sanded everything down, and painted them black. While those are drying, I'm going to start working on the case here. Okay, I've got all the hinges drilled off, or the rivets drilled out for the latches. I glued in the little wire chase right here. This is just a little piece of flex loom cut in half. I installed my 1/4-inch output right there, and obviously the side wood. I just drilled a couple holes through the side and mounted with short screws. So I've got my front panels all cut from the sheet metal from the auto mixers here, and then I'm going to mount them. I'm going to be removing this little angle bracket here on each one of these cards, and using that, mounting that in there, and that will be my panel mounts. Got my bottom panel all drilled out, my top panel all laid out, where I'm going to have everything placed. For the string section, I only drilled holes in case later I want to switch to push buttons, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have the strings there. And yep, I'm going to continue drilling and then paint these up and start wiring it up. Okay, I got all the guitar controls wired into the panel. Strings, all the frets, stock guitar sounds, and the modification select, turn it on, and then the pot to adjust those mods. Everything's wired in. And now I'm going to start working on the front panel. The top panel, instead of painting black, I just ground down to the metal finished and clear coated it to give as best as I could do as a brushed aluminum face. And okay, I'm going to start wiring that now. Okay, I've got my upper panel all wired and labeled. I'm going to shorten some wires, make everything fit a little better. And now all I got to do is wire everything else in. Okay, well, I'm just about done with my little synthesizer here, and I had one last idea. On the stock guitar, it had this little circuit. Basically, you plug headphones in and it shuts off the speaker. So what I'm going to do is take this little plug, probably widen up one of these holes, mount it in there, and wire it in a way that when you plug this in, it basically kills the toy guitar, and then you could input something in, like a stylophone, and then that audio would route through the effects. Just kind of a little last minute thing I thought of right now. So I ended up installing my input here, since there was already previously a case hole like on that side. I just widened the hole there. However, I found it is sharing the ground and not actually switching both wires. So I'm going to be adding a toggle here, yet another toggle, to switch that the sound, so I can input the stylophone there. Okay, I've just finished my little line input here. I just reused the input from the guitar. I ran it to a little toggle switch, and then out to the effects, just so I can use a little stylophone input. Okay, I've got my project all completed. This is the main guitar sounds. Comes out to the strings, the string triggers here. The fret control buttons are all along here. The original guitar sounds, sound, lead, chord, auto, bass on and off, rhythm, tempo minus, tempo plus are all here. Distortion controls, rotary switch with a toggle to turn on and off, and a pot to adjust the value. Then I got an audio input here, going to a toggle switch which can select between the audio input and the guitar sound, and then we'll send that out to the effects. Comes up to the first effect, which is the voice changer. Comes into the voice changer, and then I can, each set of toggle switches as a bypass, so I can bypass each sound here. All the different voices that control the voice changer. There's a pitch select, which you can select the original pitch of the voice changer or the pot, an adjustable value. Then it dumps out of the toggles into the other toggles, which same thing, you can bypass or send it through this next one, which is the cassette. Basically just sends the sound through the cassette head input, and a pot there for kind of a little bit of adjustment. And then it bounces out to the next set of toggles, which is the delay, the PT2399 delay kit. And then on the delay kit, I've found quite a few different bends. I have a feedback 1, feedback 2, feedback 3, a fuzz bend, and a warp bend. And then all of those come back into the delay kit that I built. And then out of that last toggle goes to the volume pot, then from the volume pot back down to the audio out, the 1/4 inch out in the back. And that's pretty much it on the inside. Okay, so here it is, all completed. I'll just go through the controls. There's a stock string assembly here. These are all the fret buttons of the guitar. These are all the sounds from the original guitar. So basically this whole section is just original guitar section. This is the bends for the guitar. Turns the bend section on. It's a 6-position rotary. So there's 6 different settings, and then you can adjust the pot there. And then the audio from there goes out to a voice changer. The double toggle switch acts as a bypass, so sends it through the voice changer. When it's up, when it's down, it just bypasses through the next one. Different voices there, pitch on, and adjust the pitch, or when it's down, just a stock pitch. Into the tape distortion, same thing, the double toggle bypasses it. Adjustment for the distortion, and then into the delay, same thing, bypass. We got the wet dry mix, the delay length. This is feedback 1, turning it on, and then the adjustment feedback 1. Feedback 2, just a pot. Feedback 3, this pot with a push to hold button. And then we got a fuzz switch and a warp switch, the main power, and volume. Oh, and then we got audio input here. So when it's up, it is taking the audio in here and bypassing this whole section. And then when it's down, it engages this whole guitar section and disables the audio input.
Bending.